Governments should behave more like a business with a customer-driven and citizen-centric model, says world-famous marketing guru Professor Phillip Kotler.
And I believe governments should behave more like a business, not a profit-making business, but a business that is customer-driven, citizen-driven. The public sector is very important to have really good government, good employees in government, caring about the citizens, and what's necessary is to have partnership between business and government, and nonprofit organizations. They have to work as partners rather than competitors, because that's how things get done. They don't get done usually by just one sector. Business sometimes feels hampered by government. So government must facilitate business so everyone gains. And nonprofit organizations often have to ally with government agencies to accomplish things.
Kotler was addressing the public sector marketing forum conducted by SLIM. Professor Kotler presented marketing strategies to develop tourism in Sri Lanka.
The main thing we learned about all this is be ready for the tourists that you really want to attract, and make sure you have the infrastructure to satisfy them. The worst thing is you've got to manage expectations. You've got to manage their expectations. Now look, I get off of the airplane, and then I find it takes me an hour to get to the hotel, and it's not a fast road, right? Because you are now building another highway that will be ready, and that's much better for the class tourists to experience quickly to the hotel. And you're lacking 30,000 rooms for the number of tourists you're expecting to attract. So there should be in parallel the plan for how many and what kind of tourists you're attracting, and developing the infrastructure to be ready for them. You don't want anyone coming here and going back home and saying they were disappointed. So I'd rather wait a little bit. I'd rather work on infrastructure with your budget and then go after the plan.
Speaking at the forum, Professor Kotler said that most reputable brands in USA spend less on marketing.
There's a finding that the companies that Americans love the most, and there was a study, what companies do you love or you would miss if they went under? And we got 25 companies that came up again and again that we would miss them. So one characteristic of those companies is in every case they spent less on marketing. You would have thought that the companies people love are the ones who spend more on marketing, right? No, they spend less. And why? Because they're loved. So who's doing the marketing? It's the customers. The customers are talking about this. The customers are recommending them. So the job of a company is to figure out how to be loved by their customers. And the job of a country is to figure out how to be loved by their citizens.
Central Bank Governor Ajit Nivad Cabral also addressed the gathering.
A great portion of the inflation is driven by an inflation expectation. If people think that prices are going to go up in the short term or in the long term, they will take certain steps in order to factor that in. So for us, it is very important that we structure our own next steps to indicate to people the situation, and if we do feel that it is not going to go up, and to communicate that. So I think Professor Kotler's comments there came in very handy, because in communicating our strategy about reducing inflation in the future will help us to reduce inflation expectation, which in turn will help us to reduce inflation itself. So that cycle is an important matter for us to remember and drive, and I think that's something that we take from Professor Kotler's talk.
Professor Phillip Kotler met President Mahinda Rajapaksa on Saturday and visited Sigiriya yesterday as part of his 4-day visit in Sri Lanka.